I'm Max Sterling, welcome to LarpMix. For a long time I've wanted a book pedestal, something that you can set a book on and just have it open like in all the movies and stuff. Just a pedestal that can hold an open spell book or some sort of tome. And that's what we're going to make today. This is part one of hopefully only a two-part series on how to make your own out of reclaimed wood and pretty much do it for free. So let's get started. You're going to want to find yourself a nice quality pallet and then get some decent straight looking pieces of wood off of there, as many as you can. They're already going to be cut to a uniform length and probably width, so it's a really good starting place. Plus you're salvaging this wood, so it's getting some extra life. So the first thing we're going to do is cut about 10 or 12 of these boards. Find ones that are uniform width and cut them to probably about 15 inches or so. This will give you a good starting point. And then if you want to make it smaller, you can always adjust later. We're going to need 4 long boards. Now these are actually going to be for the center of the pedestal, the part that rises up. And I'm going to go with probably around 4 foot because that's how high I think it should be for my height. The best way for me to determine that was I just held a book in front of me at what I thought would be a comfortable height, and then I measured down to the ground from there. And this may vary for everyone, but probably a pretty good generic number is somewhere around 4 foot. Now, I'm marking these off so that they're all going to be that height. And then I'm going to cut it. And for cutting, you can use whatever you have available. If you have a sawzall or a circular saw or a table saw, that's all fine. But you can just use a good old-fashioned hand saw if you need to, or you can just stay with the height they are as they come off the pallet, but that's going to be pretty tall. If you have a planer and stuff, you can run them through there and make them nice and smooth, but I know most people don't have that type of stuff, and I'm really going for a rustic look on mine anyhow, so hand sawing and leaving them this way is perfect for me. Once you get them cut, you may have a bunch of imperfections. I'm going to leave them because I think they look cool, but if they're at the end of the board, just cut that part off. When you measure, be sure that that's the part you're cutting off with your saw. And if you do end up with some of that stuff, you can always fill it in later with wood putty, like these big nail holes and stuff, or you can leave them go. It's entirely up to you. It shouldn't affect the overall project. And we're going to put together the center column. And I just sort of mocked this up here so you could see what we're doing with it now. Obviously, these boards are just sort of leaning on each other. This isn't exactly how it's going to get screwed together, but you get an idea of what we're doing. We're making a square column. Post. Now, as far as the screws that are going in it, obviously we don't want anything, modern showing on it. So I put some of the screws in just to hold it together for now, but we're going to countersink these. Now, the easiest way to countersink is just to drill a hole, pre-drill, and then just drill a little bit wider on top. And that way when you screw in the screw, the top of it will come down below the actual wood. And then you can cover that with a wood putty or whatever you have around. And that way none of these screws will actually show in the final product. Now if you're using like old nails or brads or something, then it'll be fine to let those show, but I was using screws for stability. I didn't have any wood putty, so I just used some caulking I had that's paintable and put that over top of them to smooth it out, just sand it down, and there you have it. This still needs cleaned up a little bit with sandpaper, but for the most part, that's it. Now we're going to build the base. I decided to actually in the end go with around 12 inches for the base. And what I did was just took 3 of those boards we had cut previously, cut a few more inches off, and then I'm going to brace them with scraps from another one of the boards. And then this column goes right in the center here. And to brace it, you just cut another one of these boards in half basically, and we're just going to screw it to the back of these boards and then flip it over, and you'll have a raised base for this. So you can see here what I did. I basically just have screws in the bottom so you'll never see those, and then it's raised in the center with some additional scraps. I did 2 and then 1 to give it a little bit more height, and then this post will just stand right in the center, and that's pretty much the base portion of it. Now to make the top where the book will actually sit, I'm going to use 3 of these smaller pieces I pulled off of the pallet, and we'll do the exact same thing I did with the bottom. I'm going to brace it on the back, but on this I'm not going to flip it over. I'm going to leave the brace portion on the back of that. And when you put it all together, you have your base, your post, and your top. And this is pretty much what you get. I think it's a pretty decent looking podium or book stand. Now I'm going to angle it, so I'm going to put a little shelf on here later, and I'll have to attach it, and that'll be part 2 of this video, so be sure to catch that. But if you wanted to, you could also just leave this lay on there flat and just use it like a podium or a side stand that way, but I really want it to be specifically a book stand. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please click like, subscribe to the channel, be sure to catch part 2, and of course, as always, adventure on.